I love that sound so much. This is the Ford Mustang GT Premium. It's the 401A package. It's got the Bronze Appearance package, the GT Performance Pack, Active Valve, and so many other features. This one is pretty much as close to fully loaded that you're going to get inside of the 2024 Mustang. And in this video, you're going to learn everything you need to know about this ride, covering off what's going on with the unique parts of the Bronze Appearance package, what you can expect out of the GT Performance package, and a number of other things. If you want to know how to use the steering wheel buttons, navigate through the new cluster screen, or use the new Sync 4 media screen, you'll find those walkthrough videos down in the description of this video. You're also going to find a build link for this specific Mustang with links off to Ford.com and .ca, and then the contact details for Formula Ford, who were nice enough to lend this thing to me for the afternoon to shoot the video for you guys. I gotta say, the pictures online for the Bronze Appearance package don't really do this thing justice. Like even looking something simple like the 5-liter badge on the fender for the driver passenger side, it's got this nice bronze highlight that just matches beautifully with these 19-inch bronze wheels. I'm typically a big fan of black wheels in cars, and the GT Performance Pack and the Night Pony package have some pretty sweet options. But looking at the 19-inch bronzed wheel here, the overall style and just the color scheme looks good. There's one thing that this thing does have the black center cap in the middle. I think that if that was bronze to go along with this bronze package, it would just make it look that much better. But then it's an interesting contrast because the pony in the middle is metallic, so it's like a chrome one instead. But overall, I still do think that the bronze wheel looks nice, and it's because the GT Performance Pack mated with these Pirelli P0 tires. Definitely going to need it. And then as part of that GT Performance Pack, you're also going to get larger front springs. So overall suspension is vastly improved. You do also have the option for the MagneRide damping system. And one of the big benefits of that MagneRide system is that it's got magnetic particles inside of the suspension system itself, so inside of the fluid. And that helps with body roll, so it reduces the overall body roll just to give you a stiffer feel. And because this is the upgraded performance pack, you've got upgraded tuning, so chassis tuning, ABS, E-Pass, and a few others. So if you are planning on taking your Mustang on a track, you want to look at the GT Performance Pack, not only for all the extras that you get, but there's also an electronic drift brake on top of that too now, which is pretty damn cool. As always, you're only going to find the Mustang rear-wheel drive, and it's got a series of different options for the rear axle or final drive ratio, which is the number of time that the drive shaft has to spin in order for the wheels to rotate once. And that number, same as last year, is going to go up to 3.73. But the numbers are all over the place depending on if you're in the EcoBoost, the GT, the 10-speed auto, or the 6-speed manual transmission. Because this thing is the GT Performance Pack with the 10-speed auto, you're a 3.55 torsion differential, and then in the 6-speed manual, that would be a 3.73 instead. So just kind of basic rule of thumb, the higher that number is, the more launch you're going to feel, but it's going to negatively impact your fuel economy. If you are going to track this thing, you could always go a 410 aftermarket if you needed a little bit more launch. Match that up with some drag radials at the same time. Taking a peek underneath, you also do have the K-brace as part of the GT Performance Pack. Looking at fuel quality and economy inside of this thing, minimum manufacturer's recommendation is just regular 87 gas. Now, having said that, horsepower and torque specs inside of Ford vehicles are all achieved using a premium fuel, a 94 octane. I know gas prices are pretty crazy right now, so if that's not in the budget, you could just use regular 87. It's just that if you want the best possible performance out of this thing, you're using a 91, 93, 94 if you can find it. It's just not necessary. The performance difference that you're going to see inside of like an 87 and a 91, not big. You're maybe 2-3% difference, one over the other. But like I said, best possible performance, like these things, especially the Coyote V8, loves premium fuel. And then across the entire Mustang lineup for 2024, even the EcoBoost, you're going to have the reverse sensing system standard. There's also going to be the backup camera and sequential LED turn lights. Now there are two unique things here, and that's because this thing has the GT Performance Pack and the Bronze Appearance package. So GT Performance Pack wise, this thing has a unique spoiler, because typically it would just be a regular small deck lid instead. But you could do a spoiler delete right from the factory if you wanted to. And because this is the GT, so you've got your GT badge, because it's the bronze appearance, this thing is also bronze, but because it's the performance GT, it's also got this really cool performance highlight right along the very top of that GT. It's that like really small detail inside of this badge. I love it. It is really cool. This one does have the active valve system, but before I let you listen to it, I highly recommend getting the active valve system if you're in the GT. Get it at time of ordering from the factory because there is nothing even remotely close to the factory option aftermarket. So if you are going to get the GT, or if you're contemplating active valve, get it at time of ordering, even if that means you have to put in a custom order. Because the active valve, let's fire this thing up because it sounds amazing. That is really cool. The sport mode is great. The track mode just opens things up nicely. And I hope you liked it because the angle that I was showing, you can actually see what's happening with that valve opening and closing. Now, if you're not too crazy about the sound, Borla and a few other companies actually have tips that work in conjunction with the active valve system. So if you wanted to customize it that little bit more, you do have the flexibility to do it. Now, typical Mustang styling, if you wanted to get into the trunk of the vehicle, right underneath, so right where the plate would sit, you're just going to insert fingers and lift. Yeah. In order to get into the trunk of this thing. And the way that it looks back here is going to depend on which model of the vehicle that you're in and which trim level you've gone with as well. Because this one has the 12-speaker audio system, there's a subwoofer along the right side and nothing along the left. There might be a light in the back there, just depending. This one has just the regular carpeted liner. And then lifting up, this thing has the tire inflator kit. Now, some versions of the Mustang also do have the option for a mini spare tire. So that mini spare tire is available depending on how you have your Mustang built out. So because this one is the GT Performance Pack, you're not going to find the spare tire available as an option. So there are like some little asterisks as to whether or not you can get that from the factory or not. But as I mentioned, if you don't have the mini spare, you do have the inflator kit. And then being a Ford owner, you do have access to Ford roadside assistance. So if you ever do puncture a tire, you need a replacement, whatever the case may be, you need fuel delivery, winching, etc., you can call an 800 number and you've got 5 years of service. So it's essentially the same as the powertrain warranty. So 5 years, 60,000 mile or 100,000 kilometers for that roadside assistance. And then only other thing to point out is that inside of the back there is the white spigot. So if you ever need to fill up using a jerry can, that is available as an option. You just need to use that white spigot first. Now, one nice thing is that inside of the fastback, the second row seats can be folded down. So it's only in the fastback though, you can't do it in the convertible. So inside, you're just gonna go to the seat and pull, and then as you can see there, the seat is down. And then when you have that second row seat folded down, you just have a boatload of space inside of this thing. Taking a peek at the key fob for the Mustang. So unchanged relatively from the 23 to the 24. So along the back of the fob, you've got the little pony. Front side of the fob, the unlock button, lock button, remote start, trunk release, horn or panic alarm, and then emergency access key. So if you ever need to get into the vehicle in case the fob's died, you want to lock the glove box, etc. Now, this one has remote start because it's the automatic transmission. You're obviously not going to have remote start inside of the manual. But to remote start this thing, all you're going to do is press the lock button once, circle button twice, boom. And this thing is remote started. Now, one cool thing about the 2024 Mustang is that you can also use the key fob in order to do a remote rev. So in order to activate it, you have to press the unlock button and then the lock button within 3 seconds. So you're just going to go unlock and then lock. And then if you want to run it through a cycle, you're going to do the same thing. So you're going to go unlock and then lock. And you can literally do that as many times as you want to. It's a beautiful feature. So the vehicle does have to be on, and there are a few basic conditions that you have to meet for it to work. And then you can just press that circle button there if you want to cancel the remote start. It's very straightforward. Now, there's one other thing about the key fob as well, and is that you can use the fob itself to roll the windows down. So in order to make that happen, you're going to press the unlock button twice, and then on the second button press, you're going to hold. So you're going to go 1, 2, and hold. Okay, and then you can press the lock button to stop it, and then to keep it going, you're going to do the same thing. So double press, that'll get the cycle going again. Once it's going down, you can release, and that's how it's done. And because this is the bronze appearance package, there's also a bronze pony in the grille. You've got nice glossy highlights all the way throughout the grille that match what's going on the lower part of the bumper too. One thing that was introduced in the 2024 model is a little hood scoop, which looks kind of sharp when that hood is popped up. And then taking a peek underneath the hood, you've got this, the 5-liter Coyote V8 engine that's been reworked from last year to this year. And this thing now pushes out 480 or 486 horsepower, and then 415 or 418 pound-feet of torque. With that little asterisk being the difference of whether you have the active valve exhaust system or not. So you get a little bit of bump in your overall horsepower and torque with the active valve system. This thing also has a little strut tower brace, but I like the overall design of the cover for the 5-liter. It looks really good. I love that texture that follows all the way throughout, and that 5-liter badge. The stamping of that, I just think it looks beautiful. You're going to find the Mustang available with a 10-speed automatic or a 6-speed manual transmission. Inside of the EcoBoost, it's strictly a 10-speed automatic. Inside of the GT, it's the 10-speed auto or the 6-speed manual transmission. When you look at the 6-speed manual, that features the same transmission as last year. So it's the MT82 GetRag D4. I know some people aren't crazy about that transmission, so as always, you could always upgrade to the Tremec aftermarket if you wanted to. And then the other option is to go just right for the Dark Horse, in which case you're going to get about 20 extra horsepower. But that Dark Horse also is going to feature the Tremec right from the factory instead, and a boatload of other features. Taking a peek along the driver's side door, this thing does have the blind spot monitoring system, so that's going to highlight orange if somebody's entered the blind spot on either side of the vehicle. Along the door itself, if you've got your key fob on you, you can push there in order to lock the doors or slide your hand in to unlock. Recaro seats, which I'll touch on in just a second. But along the driver's side door, nice leather there, nice groove textured highlight, and that follows all the way through the dash, part of the steering wheel, center stack, and a few other spots. Now, this is the 401A Premium, which typically would mean driver's seat memory. But this thing has the Recaro seats, which means you're not getting driver's seat memory inside of this. But if you had it, you could set up your driver's seat for power, set up your side view mirror, and then you'd press and hold for it to remember your personal profile. And that's one of the downsides of getting the Recaro seats, is that these things, fully manual across the board. But typical Mustang styling, side view mirror control, window control, a little bit of storage. And then because this is the upgraded speaker system, speakers all over the place there. On the inside, there's a little pony. This is going to release the trunk, figure out what's going on with the running lamps. I usually just recommend keeping it in the auto setting, unless you want to see what's going on with ambient light that happens in a few spaces of the vehicle. This is to increase or decrease the brightness of the cluster screen. Steering wheel inside of this thing is going to be a manual telescoping across the entire lineup. And this, nice little Mustang scuff plate, and this thing does actually highlight, so later on at night you can see it. It looks really, really sharp. There are a series of different seats that are available inside of the Mustang. So these are the Recaro seats. Honestly, like sport bucket seat, it is extremely, extremely comfortable. But one downside is that this thing is fully manual. So you can slide the seat forwards or backwards, you can lift it up and down, and then you can also adjust the backrest. So the adjusting backrest is going to be a standard feature inside of the Mustang lineup. So this is never going to be power. The interior of the 2024 Mustang is really starting to grow on me the more I see it. You had the fully digital cluster screen that was available last year. It's just slightly different now inside of the 2024 model, but a lot of great functionality inside of it. One thing about the GT Premium and the EcoBoost Premium is that the regular seats have heated and ventilated options. But when you get into the Recaro seats, that heated ventilated functionality goes away completely, so you don't have that option available whatsoever. See, that's like the one downside of the Recaros, because like, these things are really, really comfortable. It's like this great sport bucket seat. It just hugs the body so nicely. So if your plan was to take your Mustang on the track, the Recaro seats are definitely what I would recommend. But if you're going to use this thing as just like a regular daily driver, the Recaro seats might not be for you, because like I said, you lose out on that heated, ventilated functionality. And if you're in a summer vehicle, having those ventilated first row seats is really, really nice. Beautiful start up, like that. Safety settings, haha, perfect. Look at this, so nice. Now, first thing I got to point out, the steering wheel inside of this thing, comfortable. Option for the heated steering wheel, and it's heated all the way around, so you can toggle it on there inside of the Sync 4 media screen. I love the flat bottom element of the steering wheel. It's like weave texture that follows all the way through, top and bottom there. It's beautiful. Love it. Now this is just a quick walkthrough, but if you want like an in-depth look at the steering wheel buttons, the cluster screen, or moving through the Sync 4 media screen, you'll find that walkthrough down in the description of this video. But let's go through some basics. So on the steering wheel itself, you've got two individual pads. So the one on the left side there, this is going to be for your adaptive cruise control system. So you can toggle the system on. There's a distance indicator, so how close or far are you away from the vehicle that's in front of you. And then this is a little speed limit assist. Lane keeping system, you can toggle on or off. Works 3 different ways, so similar to last year. So the first way, if you start to veer over into another lane without signaling, it'll either nudge you back into your lane, give you a steering wheel shake, or do a mixture of both. Now, this thing also has the lane centering system, so you can tell it's on because you've got the little steering wheel there. So that's going to keep you perfectly balanced in your lane as you go. Not Ford's Blue Cruise system, but it's very, very close at the same time. So you still do technically need to keep your hands on the steering wheel. That's nice. There's a mode button along the top there as well, so you could switch between all of your different drive modes. So there's a series of custom modes that you can set up through the media screen, but you've got normal, sport, track, drag, slippery, and then back to your custom again. I gotta say, I love those animations though. Look at that, sport mode animation. Beautiful. There are different cluster screens that are available, so different themes, but I'll show you how you can customize that one in a second. Along this side, this is to navigate through the actual cluster screen itself. So going up and down, there's a voice command prompt, volume rockers, and then the adjustment for your steering. So because I'm in sport mode, I only have the option for sport steering. But if you go into, let's just jump into, there we go, normal mode instead. And then you push this button, you've got the option for either normal, sport, or comfort steering. So normal is exactly that, so basic throw. Comfort, you have to throw the wheel a bit more in order to turn. And then sport stiffens things up very, very nicely. This thing does have paddle shifters because this is the 10-speed automatic transmission. The stick on the left side is to flash at your high beams. Along the right side is for your front windshield wipers there as well. But look at this. I love this little highlight. It looks so good, and then it follows through. All the way through, down the center stack there, and even along the passenger side of the dash. That beautiful little Mustang highlight there as well. This is good. Speakers all over the place. So this thing has the upgraded audio system. So there are speakers there, along the door, everywhere. It's amazing. I'll let you listen to the audio in just a second. But this is one of the 2 options that are available for the screens. So it's either going to be the screens that are connected in the middle, or there's the option where they're essentially separated in the middle instead in the lower trims. But the big difference in the 2 Sync 4 screens is that one of them has factory navigation, whereas the split one doesn't. So if you want factory nav, it is available there as an option, but you could also connect your phone to use Google Maps, Apple Maps, or Waze through Apple CarPlay, or Google Maps through Android Auto. Just love, so damn responsive. Compared to last year, I think Ford did a really good job here. It's great. A series of different options for media, so sources. You've got AM, FM, Sirius XM, and Bluetooth. And then another nice one is that if you've got a USB stick with MP3s on it, you could also insert there in order to listen to audio that way. One thing I definitely recommend though, jump into your sound settings, and then you're gonna go tone settings, you're gonna drop your treble down by 2, crank your bass by 3. That's gonna give you really, really good audio inside of this thing. Listen to this.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Set your affirmations, aspirations.
Okay, that was turned up to half volume. Like the audio inside of this thing is unbelievable. There are a few different speaker systems that are available. So it's either a 6-speaker, 9-speaker, or a 12-speaker, but that's dependent on the trim level of the vehicle that you're in. But this upgraded 12-speaker Bang & Olufsen sound system, if you're an audiophile, is definitely the way that you're going to want to go if you don't like doing aftermarket things yourself. Because there are a ton of different aftermarket systems. It's just that factory stock, that system is incredible. You can add in a phone over Bluetooth if you want to, and then you can hook up wirelessly through Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. You still could connect wired if you wanted to use Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. It's just that this thing does have wireless capability. But there are so many other options. So media player, sounds, instrument cluster. So you can kind of adjust out what's going on inside of some of the cluster screens there. So your different trip counters, things like that. There's so many cool options. Valet mode. So the valet mode is neat because it locks out the majority of the screen, but it's also going to lock out the armrest. So with valet mode enabled, this armrest, this thing won't be able to open up. It's a beautiful setting. Climate control settings are baked right into the screen. So I know some people aren't crazy about that, but one cool thing is that you can use the voice command prompt to change songs, radio stations, navigate using your voice, but you'd also have the flexibility of, through your Ford Assistant, of being able to do a number of other things. So command help, but look at this. You can adjust your climate settings, navigation, radio, and a number of other things. So yeah, does it suck that it's fully digital now? It was like that last year anyways, but you just had some physical switches in it. But you could use your voice if you wanted to change out the climate instead. Moving back home, this is the neat one. So there are basics like driver assistant settings, which, I mean, it's nothing too crazy from last year to this year. There's adaptive cruise control, speed limit assist, and a few others. Things like the blind spot monitoring system. So that highlights when somebody's entered the blind spot on the other side of the vehicle. And then a few others. But the big one here, boom, My Mustang. Series of different track apps that are available. So acceleration timer, brake performance, lap timers, drift brake. Yeah. So typically inside of the Mustang, you're going to have just an electronic parking brake now in the 24. Some versions do have this full drift brake instead. So electronic drift brake. It is a beautiful, beautiful system. And then there's also line lock. So anyone want to do burnouts? This is where you're going to make it happen. And then there are a series of different timers available too. The old Mustang had some classic gauges right along the dash. This thing is fully digital now instead. But you've got the flexibility of adjusting out. So you could have it to the accelerometer, engine oil, and a few others. Or you get this little split view. And you can customize each of these. So if you wanted something unique, you'd have the flexibility to set it up. You've got custom mode, so that custom setting that we were looking at in the cluster, you can set up 6 individual profiles there. Oh, wrong one. And then when you set it up, what happens? So what do you want your drive mode to be? What do you want your steering mode to be? Do you want traction control on or off? Which active valve mode do you want? So normal, sport, track, or quiet. And that's so cool. And then you've also got the version of the cluster screen as well. So what do you want your cluster to look like in your drive mode? You can customize the colors. You can see there, you're kind of like pink in the main color. You can adjust it out to different colors for your primary, for your secondary, etc. So you can see there, kind of release into, let's go full blue. And there's also different colors available for ambient light, and that's going to show up in a few different sections of the vehicle. Then you can also adjust the brightness of the ambient light color. This is the neat one. So as of right now, I'm in sport mode, which is why this thing looks the way that it does. But one really cool thing is that you can have it match your drive mode if you want to. You can have it so that it's just the normal mode instead. You can have it locked out to sport mode, locked out to track mode. You can go to a calming screen, but look at this. Fox body, 87 to 93. Watch this. Bam. So if you want to kind of like that classic look instead, it is available. So honestly, I would say this is very close to the 201 EcoBoost and the 401 GT last year. It's just a very different display style now inside of the 2024. But I love all of these different options that are available. I gotta go, I like that sport mode look. Track mode, actually, you know what? I think I might like track mode a bit more. Yeah, look at that. Beautiful, beautiful. There we go. That's where I'm going. But you can fully customize this out if you want to. You could also access it along the very bottom. So there's a little pony button there. You can get into your My Mustang mode instead. Toggle off traction control, 4-way blinkers, and then there's also a custom button that's available too. But you can also adjust the different modes that you're in there. Now, one thing, there typically would be another button here inside of the Premium, and that would be to turn on the heated, ventilated first row seats. But these things are the Recaros. So the downside of the Recaros is that you no longer have, well, you don't have the heated ventilated seat options whatsoever. So you would need just the regular seats in order to get to get those options instead. Moving down, you've got push button start, volume rocker, a few USB power points. So there's USB-C, USB Type A, and they're both data ports as well. All on the side, you've got just a 12-volt power point, wireless charge pad, 10-speed automatic. So you've got your park reverse neutral drive, drop it into your manual mode for better control over the paddle shifters. You could still use your paddle shifters in regular drive mode. It's just that you get a little bit more control when you're in the manual mode instead. I did mention the drift brake. If you didn't have the GT Performance package, it would just be a little electronic parking brake there instead. We've got a few different cup holders there as well. I did mention the armrest, so this thing is lockable when you're in valet mode. And then on the inside, there's a little 12-volt power point and a nice amount of storage space. Up overhead, this thing does have the auto-dimming rearview mirror, basic cabin control lights, and this is the disappointing thing about the GT, or about the Fastback now, is that the sunglasses holder went from down by the knee to up high. So you don't have the option of getting it down by the knee unless you're in the convertible, and this is typical Ford styling. I just really miss the one that's down low. I just thought that was really, really nice to have. Yeah, here nor there. And one other thing to point out, glove box. Last year, there used to be a little droppable tray there as well, so like a little hidden storage compartment. That one is now gone. But you have the same amount of storage space on the lower tray as you had last year. Shifting up overhead, this thing has a garage door opener that you can program in. Look in the description for a walkthrough on how that works, but it's very straightforward. I'm dropping this down. Vanity mirror has lights built in, along with a little ticket holder. This thing extends out, blocking most of the sun. So hold on. If I set the seat up the way that I would normally drive, there you go. It's blocking all the sun that could be hitting my face. Maybe like a teeny little bit along the outside, but other than that, fully blocked off there. Now this thing does have a second row, but I mean, realistically, getting into the second row, like this is so damn hard. Hold on. So along the back there. Yeah. Okay, so I've got this seat set up for myself being 6 feet tall. Yeah. And with it being set up this way, it is so damn tight back here with the Recaros. So I definitely need to move the seat forward in order for it to be remotely comfortable there. But I have literally no headspace at the same time. So taller people, not going to happen. But if you've got kids, there are the anchor points and then top tether points there as well. So if you do have child seats, that is an option. And then when you get the regular seats, so not the Recaros, you would have a little mat pocket along the passenger side. That's really about it in the second row here. Like it's just, headspace is so tight. Getting out of this thing, just gonna lift, push, and have fun. Tricky. There's just no comparing that rumble, that like growl to anything. Like the 5-liter Coyote is a beast. Like you compare it to something like the EcoBoost, like the 2.3-liter EcoBoost, which like, don't get me wrong, the new one using dual port injection is beautiful, but it is no Coyote V8. Like this thing sounds amazing.
Circulation, one step at a time, yeah, that's how you make it. Set a goal you control and the steps you take them. I try to pick one thought, have some concentration, and if I make a mistake, it's called education. I try to do this every day, call it replication. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
The audio inside of this thing when you get the 12-speaker system is amazing. And the power inside of this thing, it's just so damn good. Oh, I love it. Here's like an ideal build. So if you're just going to be taking your vehicle as like a daily driver, no track use, the GT is a good option regardless. Like 301, like the 300 if you're on a budget, the 400 if you aren't on a bit of, like if you can open up the budget to get the heated ventilated first row seats with the leather first row seats. Because if your plan is to use this thing as a summer vehicle, having cooled seats in the summertime is literally a butt saver. if you want to track your Mustang. If you're on a budget, same idea. You could look at the 300A GT with the GT Performance Pack, active valve, and you want to do MagneRide. Those would kind of be like the three things that I would recommend you do if you're going to track your Mustang. GT, well, I guess technically four. GT, active valve exhaust system, MagneRide, GT Performance Pack. That's going to give you the best of like every world. Because inside of the GT Performance package, you're going to get the K-brace, you're going to get the 6-piston Brembo calipers. And so many other things. Like, it is just such a useful one. Love it whenever you like catch people like looking at you as I go. Oh, that's good. I think that happens every time. It's like people see cameras as I'm rolling. They're like, hey, what's happening over there? Just recording a video, friend. Just recording a video. Formula Ford in Pickering there. Nice enough to lend this Mustang to me for the afternoon to shoot the video for you guys. So if you're in the market for a Mustang, if you're in the market for any Ford Lincoln vehicle, you definitely want to connect with these guys. So their contact information is down in the description of this video. And that was a look at the 2024 Ford Mustang GT with the Performance Pack and the Bronze Appearance Package. What'd you think? If you have any questions, drop down in the comment section below and let me know. But if you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and until I see you next time, take care. Final drive ratio, which is essentially the number of times the drive has and that Torsen differential is available in the 6-speed auto,